predicament just as much as you can Obama. What does UNESCO have to say about education? This, In the Classroom with Children Under 13 Years of Age Towards World Understanding, is a 10-part teacher training series, and it's old. This goes back to the late 1940s. But it says a lot about UNESCO and their ideology. It says, as long as the child breathes the poisoned air of nationalism, education and world-mindedness can produce only rather precarious results. As we have pointed out, it is frequently the family that infects the child with extreme nationalism. This is one of the common themes that as parents we are experiencing with the Common Core. This education reform is fracturing the parent-child bond. This is pushing parents out of the way, telling us to shut up and get in line and let the state have their way with our children. Now we know why. Next slide. Let's look at UNESCO's mandates for its education-based NGOs, like Microsoft. Number 1, they are instructed to downplay nationality in teaching, lest the kids identify too strongly with their country. 2, teach peace, defined by the UN as more than the absence of war, requiring social equity. We all know what that means. Teach sustainable development. We know what that means. Yeah. And teach local to global activism. Execute these objectives and report back. This is what UNESCO sees as important to education. They want little activists, little peacemakers. Next. Oh, Jeb. Oh, Jeb. Jeb founded the Foundation for Excellence in Education. This is his education nonprofit. I think it's excelonline.net or something like that is his website. Yeah. excelonline.org. He loves Citizen Common Core. You know why? Because Gates pays him to love some Common Core. He got $5 million from Gates for this initiative. Do you know who else funds Jeb Bush for this initiative? Walton, because they fund everybody. All right. You can read all about how much Jeb Bush loves him some Common Core. All right, so who brings us these standards? Who is directly behind Common Core? 3 DC-based groups. The first one is called the National Governors Association, otherwise known as the NGA. The second one is the CCSSO, Council of Chief State School Officers. So, member of the NGA would be your governor. Member of the CCSSO would be your state school commissioner or state school superintendent. Okay? Now, these two groups are not elected bodies, they're not governing bodies, they're professional organizations. The purpose of the NGA is to get together and kumbaya about what they're going to go to DC and ask for to further their causes as governors. It's a lobby group. Same thing for the CCSSO. They get all the school commissioners together and they talk about what their wish list is going to be when they go down to DC. When they want to ask for funding or initiatives and what they're going to resist when things try to pass through the House. All right. They're private. They hold closed-door meetings. You can't submit a Freedom of Information request for what goes on in these meetings. They're not applicable to the Sunshine Laws. Parents are not allowed to attend these meetings. Yet, these two groups were funded at a very high clip, $330 million of your federal stimulus tax dollars to go hire Achieve to write these standards. Achieve, guess where they're located? DC, imagine that. DC's been helping states with standards and other education-related things for a long time. The problem with Achieve is that the people who were assigned to this were mostly testing executives and bureaucrats, people who've never taught in a classroom ever. They were hired by the NGA and the CCSSO to write the standards, and that they did. Did you know, I just learned this about a month ago, that the NGA and the CCSSO, half of their funding is federal tax dollars? Isn't that crazy? Half of their money comes from us so they can go to DC and lobby against what we want. Here's another interesting tidbit about the NGA. They support the principles of Federalism. This is a group that is not going to be in favor of the 10th Amendment or state rights. The CCSSO in their mission statement advocates for continued disaggregation. That has to do with student data. More on that later. Here's another little tidbit. The CCSSO, just in time for Common Core, partnered with Microsoft, the American Institutes of Research, that's George Soros, In Bloom, which has now been kicked out of New York, McGraw-Hill, Pearson Education, Amplify, and Scholastic and ACT. 2 words, crony, capitalism. Crony, crony, crony. Oh, good old Arnie. Who knows who Arnie Duncan is? Oh, that's good. Better than most. He's the United States Secretary of Education. You know, basketball player. Like a lot of these reformers, he's never taught in a classroom in his life. He was a professional basketball player for Australia. When he was done balling for the Aussies, he planted roots in Chicago. Oh, Comedy Central. Planted roots in Chicago and got to be friends with Barry and Bill. You know who I'm talking about? Barack Obama and Bill Ayers. And a rich investment banker who got him a sweet little job starting up a charter school in Chicago, worked his way up to be the CEO of the Chicago Public Schools. He's never taught in his life. Do you know what he majored in? Anyone got a guess? Sociology! Oh. He majored in sociology. Smart guy. Magna cum laude from Harvard. There you go. All right. So, of course, when Barry made it to the White House, he brought all of his buddies with him, including his basketball buddy. Put him in charge of education.